waiting for initiating the recording, and now it's recording. Okay.
Great. Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, we can start. So hello everyone, and welcome to the first of the series of Empodera.org virtual conversations with amazing people who inspires us around the world using technology for good. Our first guest is Ananya Chadha. She's a machine learning and artificial intelligence developer based in Toronto, and okay, she got a really impressive background, and we want you, Ananya, first of all, thank you for being with us. Thank you so much for accepting this interview.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, we want to get to know you more, and please share with us your view on some basic things on your background with the audience, so we can get you to know more.
So my life story or my bio, or
like your bio, and you know what your passion come true when you were young, and how you get to machine learning and artificial intelligence development as a research and stuff.
Yeah. So it's been a really crazy journey, and it totally just happened by me following what I was interested in and curious about. I think everybody has curiosity and things that they're fascinated by. So my pretty much whole life and career has been just going and learning more about what I've been into. It started off in gene editing, which is, so all living things have genes, your DNA, and your DNA codes for everything: how you look, how you think, well, maybe not all that, but like how leaves work, and you can edit this genetic code. I was like, that is so cool. So then I ended up getting involved in gene editing research in Toronto at the Cone Lab. After that, I realized that there was problems in the genetic editing world. So I built a platform that let people upload genetic data to researchers' data sets to help them cure different diseases. And then I ended up working at Babel Ventures, a biotech investment fund. And then from there, I got really excited about AI. So I ended up working at IBM doing AI and neurotech. So I ended up working with Microsoft, building a bunch of different brain-computer interfaces, which I think we'll talk about later. So it's just been me hopping all over the place to whatever I think has a lot of impact to do good, and whatever I think is fun for me to do.
Just a little detail to share with the audience. How old are you?
I'm 18.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And talking about one of your projects, you are making a research in brain control. Okay, that for us still sounds like science fiction for most of the people, and we are really impressed by your research in controlling little robots. Okay, with your mind. How was the idea born, and how does it work, and how is the impact of that in the future?
Totally. I don't know if you ever read the book or seen the movie Matilda, but It's about a little girl who can control things with her mind. And I remember when I was a little girl, I watched this movie and read the book, and I was like, she is so cool. And then as I got older, I always had that in the back of my mind. And then I stumbled upon brain-computer interfaces and neurotech, which is a field that researchers are trying to connect your brain to external machines or computers. So how it works is you can tape, there's a lot of different methods, but one of the ways is you tape electrodes, so EEGs, electroencephalogram. You can place them on the surface of your head to collect your brain signals. There's lots of different technologies you can use. You can use FNIRS, MEG, EMG for muscles, but you take whatever sensor, invasive, non-invasive, and you record your brain signals. Then you analyze your brain signals later. And there's a lot of different software to do this. And then from those insights, you can then do something. So I was able to control a little car with my brain signals. And this is actually really promising research. One really amazing area is, so people who are paralyzed, it used to be a really tough medical mystery if they didn't have control of their arms and legs. And there's a lot of also different neurological diseases that cause people to lose access to controlling their body. So a lot of really fascinating work in neurotechnology allows people to think, and then we collect the brain signals. They're thinking, let me move my arm. And then we send it and process the information. And then researchers are able to re-stimulate it. Perhaps you want to say you move your leg, you can re-stimulate it at the start of your leg to then move your leg, bypassing like the spinal cord or wherever the injury occurred. So there's like really cool research where researchers were able to get paralyzed monkeys to walk again by using this technology.
So the applications in fields like medicine are real. They are making it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's really cool for the future of the sustainable goals of the planet. As a young person, it's really important for young people to see references like you. Okay, so I think it's you also are an advocate there in your country, and also in your online community. How will brain control? How it's not a reference and know how to consume artificial intelligence and technology, but build it. Okay, so as a builder, as an advocate, what actions do you lead to support these actions for young people?
Yeah, it's so important. When I got started, I looked up to other young people who were doing amazing things. And I was like, whoa, they can do it, I can do it. And now that I'm here, I hope to serve as like the same example for other young people interested in doing whatever they want to do. I genuinely think it's really important for a lot of people from different backgrounds to get involved in the fields of neurotechnology, artificial intelligence, a lot of new technology that's developing, virtual reality. To give you an example, with genetics, you can find out if in the future you might have Alzheimer's or not. And some people would love to have that knowledge, and some people wouldn't because there's nothing that they can do about it. Same with artificial intelligence. There's so many different polarizing issues where one group thinks this is like the best thing ever, and then another group draws ethical implications, just like with neurotech. And the good thing is if you can get people from different environments and backgrounds and thought processes involved, then you can have opinions that can shape a really great future for humanity. Whereas if it's only like one centralized group that's making all the decisions, perhaps we're not actually getting the best outcome for everyone, because you should be having a group of people that represents everyone, developing technology for everyone, in my opinion. And so I think what we ought to do is share just how cool this technology is, access to this information with more people. If I were to tell someone like about brain-computer interfaces and this technology,
how can you explain to someone who doesn't know about it?
Totally. And you don't have to explain the technical details. You just have to explain enough so that people know that the field even exists in the first place. Because most people don't even know neurotechnology exists at all. And so there's like recent studies where they're trying to create like brain implants to let people communicate with each other. So you can have like brain-to-brain communication, almost like telepathy. There was a really fascinating study done at the University of Washington where researchers were able to communicate using only their brain waves. And together they were able to play a game of Tetris, which is pretty crazy.
Interesting.
And yeah, but this technology is public, or this information is public, but people still don't know about it, which means that they're missing a link there. And that link, which is like getting the information out to a wider group of people, I think is an important one that should be filled.
Yeah, totally. How do you think, as an expert, artificial intelligence can help to achieve the goals of the challenges that our societies are thriving right now? Can you explain some projects that you're working currently, some results you can share?
Totally. There's a lot of problems that we face as a species that are really hard. And as we've developed over time, our our problems become increasingly more complex. They have layers of ambiguity, of complexity that's really hard for our human brains to understand the best solutions to. For example, different diseases. Sometimes it's hard to know where to get started in terms of finding a cure. And like climate change, sometimes it's really hard to know what actions to take to find a cure. If you're looking for a new material that could make cars twice as efficient, sometimes it's hard to know like what that is. And so I think the combination of artificial intelligence and machine learning, quantum computing, and a few other technologies, we're going to be able to help improve our abilities to make decisions and find answers to problems that are important to us, whether that's the UN Sustainability Development Goals you mentioned. And to give you some examples, so right now I'm working with the Canadian military doing coronavirus projections. And something that's important is you need to know what coronavirus might look like in different areas. And one way to predict that and project that out is by using different machine learning techniques that helps you become super accurate so you can have really good legislation in place so that the least amount of people die. And additionally, when you're doing neurotechnology, for example, I mentioned paralyzed people previously, when you do that signal processing, a lot of signal processing can be made better with applications of artificial intelligence. So if you're trying to get someone to control a prosthetic arm with their mind, you read the signals, but you need to process it using machine learning to then be able to control the prosthetic. And I'll leave you with like a last one that I think is very cool, but there's so many examples. For example, batteries. In order to reduce carbon emissions, one of the largest, so climate change is caused by carbon emissions that heat up the planet. So in order to reduce carbon emissions, we can look at the biggest industries, and one of the biggest industries is energy. So in creating electricity, we generate a lot of carbon emissions. So the question becomes, why can't we switch to renewable energy like solar and wind? And currently the problem is solar and wind aren't on all the time. They're only on when the sun is out, when the wind is windy. So you need electricity that runs all the time so someone can turn on their lights. Like the whole city can turn on their lights and you always have enough energy, which is why other sources are really good. But if you were able to have better batteries that could hold huge amounts of charge for like 5 days, you could easily and super cheaply convert the entire grid to renewable energy. So the question becomes, why don't we have better batteries? And there's a lot of really amazing researchers looking at how artificial intelligence can tell us how we can make better batteries, which will help our planet a lot.
Wow, that's really cool. Thinking about this, what do you have to say to people, for example, that doesn't believe in machine learning or in artificial intelligence, and they think, for example, that they are taking people's jobs and stuff? Just to say some example, how do you say to them to give them a clue of the importance of this kind of disruptive technologies for the future of the world?
It's really hard, and I totally understand where they're coming from. I completely understand, because right now jobs are so important. They're how you make your livelihood. So it would be absolutely catastrophic if something came in and just wiped out everybody's quality of life. And I think the good thing, though, is that a lot of people are thinking about this. Currently, artificial intelligence is not at the stage to wipe out most jobs. Because of the way that we create these networks, artificial intelligence is only good at one specific task. It's not good at everyday human things yet. I think it'll be a lot of time when we change the way we do neural networks or machine learning. We'll have to totally change our approach, completely go from the ground up to start actually creating artificial general intelligence that I think could then take jobs. But I think because there's so many people talking about it, which is amazing, what a potential future might be, I think, in the far, far future is that jobs might even become a thing of the past. Perhaps now, like, we live in like a totally different world where you still have your livelihood, sustenance, You can do things that bring you purpose and enjoyment without that necessarily being a job. I'm not entirely certain, but right now we're most definitely not at the stage where they'll start taking swaths of people's jobs. But it's definitely, I think you're definitely going to see some people losing their jobs.
It's amazing thinking about these kind of things you're talking about, because, for example, nowadays, most of the jobs that people are going to do in the 10 years from now, for example, are not invented right now. So
exactly,
I think it's how human evolution has to be, right?
But to be frank, I'm a little bit worried about it. For example, truck drivers, we're developing, or like people are developing as humanity. Humanity is developing like self-driving trucks, so autonomous trucks, and a lot of people are employed as truck drivers. And so there'll definitely need to be a better system for people to become retrained and re-educated and like constantly learning so that they can fill the gaps that come up. I'm not sure if we have that system in place yet. And it's very important also to make sure that like people don't get slipped through the cracks. So you also need, I think, like a strong social safety net to like catch people if their jobs go away.
You mean like a systematic
I'll keep it in mind.
Like a systematic change in parallel of how science and technology is evolving?
Yeah, I think so.
And that's
you hear people talk about
a tricky thing about this, the system, the system itself, I think.
You hear people talk about universal basic income as well.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. Like, for example, if robots and machine learning is doing a lot of these tasks, then if their output could pay for people to gain a basic level of income, I think that makes a lot of sense as well.
Yeah.
And people are talking about it as well.
So I think that thanks to this passion you are demonstrating right now and your brilliance, you have the support of companies like Microsoft or accelerator talent associations like the Knowledge Society. What's next for you? What's next in your mind? What do you want to achieve right now?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are happening right now. I'm going to university in September, so in a month. I'm going to Stanford, which is a really great place for startups. So I'm really excited. Thank you. And I've been working on a bunch of different startup ideas that I think have the potential to do a lot of good for people, because my longer term goal is I want to hopefully impact 1 billion people for the better. And when I think about how to do that, for me, it most likely comes down to startups and technology, because that's what I enjoy. I find that so fun and exciting. I can share with you some of the ideas that my team and I have been working on. One, for example, is, so for coronavirus in Canada, we have to do mandatory temperature checks. So you have to check someone's temperature once a day or 2 times a day, so that if someone's temperature goes above a certain threshold, then they can be quarantined, or you can get tested for coronavirus to prevent the spread early. So one of the things that we've developed is a bracelet that automatically tracks your temperature, and it can get sent to a dashboard. So senior homes are particularly bad in Canada, and they're also the most vulnerable population for coronavirus. So we're currently discussing how might you be able to measure temperature to see it immediately to prevent spread in senior homes. Another project that my friends and I have been working on has to do with measuring. We're launching a weather balloon, and we have different solar panels around the weather balloon to see the economics of perhaps putting solar panels really high in the sky, perhaps beyond the clouds, so that they don't face any disruption and can be more efficient. And also a bunch of neurotech projects, because I feel like neurotech is going to be amazing.
Yeah, are you looking right now for some funding to develop those prototypes?
So right now, the neurotech project one, I'm not going to share it yet, but yeah, some funding would be good. One thing that's hard, I think, in the startup world is the model of funding is you essentially give like a quarter of your company and then you get like $1 million or however much money. But you have to give up a lot of equity at the start, which can cause a lot of problems down the road. So I've been looking at like grants and there's a lot of really interesting systems that exist to try and keep as much ownership as possible while still being able to get the idea off the ground.
Yeah, definitely. So I think you're leading a global voice on ethical technology, how technology needs to be open, ethical, resilient, because it has to impact on society in a good way. So do you think our society we live in right now is prepared for the digital transformation that we are about to experience, or we are experiencing right now?
I don't think we're as prepared as we could be. I think technology moves really fast, actually. It's crazy. 10, 15 years ago, nobody had cell phones. Now everybody has cell phones.
Definitely.
Wait, I'm gonna Google this to make sure I get the date right.
No, it's like smartphones has only like 10 years old.
And for example, airplanes. So the first airplane was invented in 1903, like the first one that, like the Wright brothers. So what's crazy is it's been 120 years since the Wright brothers had their flimsy little glider plane that was, and now we have crazy commercial Boeing jets, and we went to space in a reusable rocket. In 100 years, we went from not like having like a dinky little gliding airplane to having a rocket ship.
Yes.
In 100 years. Then you have to extrapolate. If we went from dinky little glider to amazing rocket ship and like transatlantic flights every second in 100 years, what's going to be the next 100 years? And then what's going to be the 100 years after that? And if you continue at the same rate, but we shouldn't actually be doing that, because what a lot of people find is technology develops exponentially because previous discoveries compound on additional discoveries. It'll be crazy. And I don't even think we can conceive of where it will be. Like people 100 years ago couldn't conceive of today. So how do we prepare ourselves?
Yeah, everything is moving so fast.
Right. How do we prepare ourselves for a future that we can't conceive of? And I can tell you like a way to think about it that I really appreciate. So Brian Johnson, who is the head of a neurotech company called Kernel, they're really cool. And what he said in the future is, let's say you have a car, like a little Mars rover, and the Mars rover has to go from point A to point B. And there's like a hill, there's sand. You can't just tell the Mars rover, like, go from point A to B, like fixate at this heading, go at this speed, because there'll be wind and the sand will move, so it might get stuck in a ditch to get over to point B. So what you should actually be doing for this little car is you should be telling the little car how to navigate. So if there is wind or sand, you have to like learn how to get out of it. And this little car should know that like if it can't see, then it has to like shake it off. And it should know like roughly how it's getting closer, and then based on that decide what speed to go at and what direction to go in. So like if you take that story out, you need to teach people how to adapt and how to learn. Learn about new technologies, learn about new skills, learn how to have like good conversations, rather than telling them exactly what to do. So you like teach them how to fish rather than fishing for them. And I think the same thing applies here. The future is going to change so much. We don't even know how to program directly point A to point B, but if we can prepare ourselves to think about the future, to understand what tools exist, to understand how we can retrain societies and become more adaptable, I think that is the approach that we will have to take.
Yeah, I'm totally agree with you. So do you think education is the change we need, is key for everything? This is our philosophy here in Empodera.org.
Yeah, education is important. I think education, when people think education, they think school. I think school is one way that people get educated. I think people also develop and get educated from a variety of other sources. You learn so much from your parents and your family and your communities. You learn so much from the things that you read and the things that you listen to. Like the people listening to this podcast or video are being educated in some manner, which is different from school.
Sure.
So I think the question becomes, how can you create education systems and like teach people values and principles and how to discuss and how to take action and it doesn't have to come from just like school, because school is really hard to change.
Yeah, it's a more complex term. The education is more complex than only school or university. As you say, there's a lot of ways of education, that, as you say. Yes, and we totally agree with that vision with you. So you raise up several times in the conversation the topic of COVID-19. And what is your opinion and prediction on how is everything going forward after the pandemic? We are now in the pandemic. The world is now thriving on it. And how can you think like this with disruptive technologies like a blockchain or machine learning or artificial intelligence can generate sustainable solutions to overcome a crisis like this?
I won't speak to how COVID-19 is going because I'm not an expert, but I do have a lot of thoughts. The first thing that I noticed is that because of coronavirus, everyone has been in quarantine and in their homes. And for a lot of people I know, it's prompted a lot of self-reflection because people have been thinking about like the meaning of life and existential questions because it's such an existential time.
Sure.
It's a time like this where people are like, the world is crazy. Like, what is going on? And because of it, I know I've seen a lot of really amazing startups being founded, ideas being created, people reflecting and becoming better people because they've had so much time in such a weird time that they've started questioning things. So I've actually seen so many amazing ideas get off the ground for socially good and ethical startups that are doing really amazing and fascinating things. Since I'm in the technology world, a lot of them have been technology focused, but they definitely don't have to be. And I think what you're going to see is this coronavirus pandemic won't be the last pandemic that we face. It won't be the last like crazy world crisis that we face. There will most definitely be ones coming up in the future. And I think though what we've learned from this one in terms of like how we respond to these types of disasters, how vaccines are developed, like you've seen the vaccine development space skyrocket like crazy. There's so many new startups that are looking at vaccine development. You like see so many people who like worked in offices then go to be able to transition online. And so people are changing so much and they're growing and they're learning how to overcome hardships. And so I think that like this year has been like a really good year for people learning how to overcome like obstacles because it's been really hard. So I think because it's hard, you're seeing people become more adaptable, more strong. And so I think that will hopefully be good for humanity.
It could be a chance to improve ourselves. Yeah, I really do think so as well. So just to finish the conversation, which is really interesting, we would love to finish with a piece of advice that you could give to a younger yourself. For example, you imagine you are a 7-year-old girl who wants to become a scientific or make something in STEAM career. How do you tell her to pursue her dreams? This is a kind of question, a personal question.
Totally. No problem at all. It's crazy what a human being can do, in my opinion. You've seen so many amazing people throughout history Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, who do crazy things. And I genuinely believe that a lot of people, if not everyone, can do what they do. But there's a few things I think that hold people back from like achieving their full potential. So there's a few things that I think about. So first, you can achieve anything that you can conceive of. So first, you got to know like what you want. So you have to, like, for example, if you didn't know neurotech existed, you couldn't want to do something in the field of neurotech. If you didn't know that space exploration was a thing, it would be hard for you to think that you want to get involved in space, or a bunch of different areas. So first, you need to like learn about things and then decide what you want and then where you want to go. And then I think step 2 is if you like genuinely believe you can get there. So that's separate and you can develop that using a lot of different strategies as well. But I think if you know where you want to go and you want it really badly and you think that you can get there, you also have to want it really badly. So if you do those 3 things, I genuinely think that everybody will achieve their goals. And you don't have to have like a plan. I think plans change, things come up. But as soon as you've thought about it, then when something might push you in that direction, you'll like turn in that direction a little bit and it will continue to compound. So as long as you want something, you really, really want it, and you think you can get it, like I genuinely think you can.
That's a beautiful piece of advice to everyone, and not only for kids, but for everyone who wants to pursue their dreams. So I want
Actually, I have one more thing. I have one more thing I want to add.
You can add anything you want.
Perfect. Wait, actually, I have 2 more things. So first, I'll share my advice. And then I kind of want to re-say my introduction at the beginning because I think I could have made it better so that people are interested. If that's all right.
Sure.
So first, I have another thought, which is in life, I think people think that they have to do certain things. They're like, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that. But the reality is you don't actually have to do most of those things. For example, you don't really have to talk to this person. You don't really have to learn this thing. You don't really have to be stuck in this job. We are lucky enough that we live in free countries that allow us to do anything. And so it's never too early or too late to change what you want to do at all. You have so much time. If you don't like what you're doing, if you don't find joy and fun in it, then you can totally leave it and start something else. I think it's really easy for us to get trapped in society and get trapped in bubbles of what we do, what we can't do. But in reality, like we all can actually do anything. So just feel free to keep changing. You don't have to be stuck in something forever. And don't listen.
Love what you do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And love what you are and love what you do. Yeah, I think so.
Totally.
But that's a really beautiful piece of advice to finish.
Awesome.
So thank you so much, Ananya. It's been a pleasure having you with us today. We wish you the best in Stanford and with your future projects. And I think we are going to know a lot of you in the media in the future, in a very, very near future. So thank you so much for everything, and see you online. Okay. And
if anybody wants to reach out, if anybody wants to reach out or ask questions or talk to me, you can message me on Twitter. My username is Ananya CHDH, and I always reply. So I would be happy to chat with you guys.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bye bye. And now I'm quit. I want to tell you that you can share with me via email your social media accounts, any picture or video related to your projects you want us to put in the final editing of the video, because it's going
Perfect.
to be prior to this presentation. It's going to be a brief presentation of, I don't know, 30 seconds of you, and we would like to introduce it with some pictures or videos or wherever. And of course, at the end of the interview, we are going to share all your social media and the links you want us to share. Okay.
Perfect. So I'll send you all that information.
Thank you so much for everything. Have a nice day and holidays if you are having holidays right now. And be safe there in Toronto, because things are getting crazy again here in Spain. So.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Oh my goodness.
So stay safe. Thank you so much for everything. Okay, Ananya?
Perfect. Have an amazing week.
Bye-bye.